I think what happens sometimes we get caught up in features and benefits, so to speak, instead of what the impact is of what we've created. And that's as a consumer of your product or service, that person is more concerned with how it's going to impact them as an individual, as a business owner, as a society, depending on what that product or service is that you're selling. So we have a tendency sometimes to speak too technical. And so, whoop, it's going over the folks' head. So
Welcome to the Iferia TechCast. We'll bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today we are joined by Audrey Wiggins, known as the Tech Diva. She's a seasoned brand strategist, entrepreneur, and host of the Tech Diva Biz Talks podcast. With over 30 years of experience in marketing and digital communications, she helps entrepreneurs and organizations elevate visibility, build trust, and boost sales through smart, tech-forward strategies. So, Audrey, welcome to the show.
thank you, Ezekiel, for having me.
Okay, I'm really excited to have you here. So, let's start at the beginning. Your career spans an incredible 30 years in marketing, from print to pixels. So, take us back to the beginning. What was it like being a self-taught graphic designer and starting your entrepreneurial journey at such a young age?
It was exciting, and just being able to create. And sometimes, we do things because we just have a knack for them, and then we go back later and we get the formal training, right? So that's how my journey went. It was something that I just kind of fell into my creative mind and ability just to see something and be able to connect it and put it together, and then take classes and things like that. So I was excited to go in that direction and know that I'm feeding my passions here. So that was kind of fun though. So first things like business cards, flyers, and I used to be the queen of program booklets. So I enjoy putting those things together. Always a challenge because when you think about graphics, art, it's a lot of math involved in that. And I always like to tell that to designers. It's like this is mathematics. So you can just look at something, it's quick. You're like, you need a right angle right there.
But that's quite an amazing journey. So, can you tell us about your company, Altogether Marketing LLC? How did it start? Take us to the beginning, and who are your customers, and what are the values you're providing to them?
Yes. Well, it was another name before that, and so I started it in 2007. My father had passed away in 2006 that December, and my mom a few years before, just around 9/11, and just after 9/11, excuse me. And so, if you go through the grieving and sadness and depression and just kind of dragging through life and all your little grief behaviors, and then it just, you know what? I think I have it all together now. Branded the company to Altogether Marketing, and that's really how it came about being. And so I added other services. We were already doing websites, but getting more into web design, so being able to be more real rounded company for clients. And at that point, I kind of served everybody, if you will. So there were the small businesses or organizations, churches, and it wasn't really until recently that I really realized who my target market is. You asked me like who, the clients that I really serve, and I like to call them wise women. They're the seasoned sisters. You called me a seasoned entrepreneur, and because I looked at the base of people that was there, like, the majority, and they were the ones that were right there in that bullseye, if you will. I still serve those outer rings, but that ended up being the focus. I'm like, okay, that's who I really serve because that's the group that really needs the technology, the automation into their businesses and to really grow.
That was a really, really, interesting way to come up with the name of your company. Audrey, you have witnessed the entire digital revolution from the front lines. So, from your perspective, what's the most important principle of effective communication that has remained constant despite all the technological changes?
Our messaging will still have to have clarity, consistency across whatever we're doing. So whatever, it doesn't matter what the technology is. Right now, we're talking through these microphones and the screen. We still have to come with a clear message, showing up authentic, who we are and what that brand message is that we want to get across. So it's on a flyer or business card, now digital business cards and emails and things like that. That's a constant that we have to get across.
Great. So, I'm quite fascinated by your evolution. You launched your first web TV show in 2011. So, what was the learning curve like moving from traditional marketing into digital content creation? And what did you learn that still applies to podcasting and video today?
Yeah. That was the most exciting part for me because I was more into the sales because I was selling these video products. But then it dawned on me, it took me a minute to really find it. It's like, this web TV, I had put a video out there just to, have like a demonstration. And I'm like, you have to be a product of the product. And I looked at it, it's like, okay, this is real. And so I created the show, Make Something Happen. TV, it was the name of it. And I just kind of went 2 feet, into it. I was like, I'm a curious person by nature. I got that from my father. He just tries things, and we just dive in the deep water and see what see what we come up with, right? And we can usually come up with a pretty big fish. And so that's how I got started. And that was just video then. So it wasn't even audio. And I didn't even know that it was still called a podcast. But I was doing video. So I learned how to edit and all that, and I've taken like I said, with the other question, training and workshops and classes to even hone those skills. And a friend, I have to get a shout out to Mo. He really got me started in iMovie to really learn how to use that. And but one thing that has remained constant through that is batch recording. So if you're gonna podcasting, I like set up a 1 day a month and just do all the recordings, 5 or 6, and you always will have something in your hopper, so to speak, so to pull out if somebody cancels or something happens, you always have content to, that you can produce. So that's one thing that has, definitely remained constant to me, and I've heard other people say it, and that's real important because you can burn yourself out even if you're doing just a monthly show. I do weekly. Some people I know they do the daily shows. And so we're always have content available and, plan your shows out. But I would think that was, the most and one of the most important things because out of that content comes the topics and all of that, because that's really kind of where we start.
Okay, so for the engineers and developers in my audience who are brilliant builders, but sometimes struggle with marketing, what's the simplest, most effective first step they can take to start building their personal or project brand?
Yeah, don't be shy. Don't be scared. I worked in an engineering college. So I was around all the brilliant minds, and then I really excited to work with them. And just you just really have to kind of come out your shell and get your message across you because you may have created or you've innovated something so fantastic. And somebody, if you want people, you really want people to use it, it's in your heart. It's, yeah, you're passionate about it. So you have to learn to take some communications classes or, learn how to speak and get your message across out there. And even if you do like little vignettes, little videos, even get on guest on someone's podcast so you can talk about that. And definitely when you're to that point, you get a marketing team, so have someone that can be the spokesperson for you. But really, you all are the the foundation. I always say this. They always talk about how small businesses are kind of like the foundation to keep the wheels running in a country. It's the innovators, the creators, those brilliant minds out there, our STEM folks. I love you.
Right, Audrey, we love you too. So, you you've worked with everyone from solopreneurs to Fortune 500 companies. So, what's the most common mistake you see technically brilliant people make when they try to communicate the values that they built?
Yeah. I think what happens sometimes we get caught up in features and benefits, so to speak, instead of what the impact is of what we've created. And that's as a consumer of your product or service, we're that person is more concerned with how it's going to impact them as an individual, as a business owner, as a society, depending on what that product or service is that you're selling. So we have a tendency sometimes to speak too technical. So whoop, it's going over the folks' head. So not to dummy anything down, but just as if you just translate that features and benefits into impact, I think that would be most helpful.
Great. So, you've spoken openly about facing imposter syndrome even while achieving so much. So, I'd like to ask for the students and early career professionals listening, what was the mindset shift or practical step that helped you overcome that feeling?
First of all, imposter syndrome, it's gonna be sitting back with you for your entire life. It's just but it's when you
Wow.
feel it coming. Yeah, you really don't, you technically don't get over it because there's the fear because there's always something new you're gonna be doing or whatever. And I don't wanna put it out there like it's some, myth or scary thing, but just to be aware of it. It's, that, your emotional intelligence of, when you feel that rising up, there's, "Hey, I got this." I've done my homework. I've created it. I've done the testing. It works. So I'm gonna put this out here and promote it. So, but in the beginning, before you can get to that point, always find like a trusted person. Always try to get around like-minded people, and that helps you to get that mind shift that you mentioned, Ezekiel, that we need to have. This, 'cause, like, we are somebody. We are enough. You are enough. You were given gifts, and nobody has what's in your hand, right? You're the expert there. We're sitting at your feet learning. So you always remember that, and just not being boastful or bragging or arrogant, overconfident. Is really believing in yourself. And sometimes it takes a while to get there, but sometimes you look at people, wow, I wish I could be like her. I wish I could be like him. He just step up on that stage, not the literal stage, but even stages sometimes. How do they do it? And it's interesting because I would be at the school and I would look at some students were just automatically outgoing and they were all brilliant. Then others would be kind of like, shy those are the ones that I gravitated to, like to really like push them and to help them to look inward and of what they have to offer instead of the outward so much of who's looking and are they going to like me or are they going to like my product or service. That's none of our business. Our business is to get the message out there, our product or service, how it's going to impact our customers. And so it's something that you keep going again, the mindset shift, being around like-minded people, join some small groups. People are doing what you're doing. And so the more you can talk about what you're doing, and it's almost like you have a speech class and everyone has to write a speech. You stand up in front of the room, you're like terrified, but you were around your comrades.
Oh, that's really interesting, and I think those were really great advice on. So, Miss Audrey, I read your story of creating an accountability cycle with your nieces to finally complete online courses and how it was powerful for you. So I'd like to ask, how can technical professionals or students create similar support systems to achieve goals outside their immediate expertise, like marketing or business development?
Yeah. So our knowledge, at some point, our knowledge has to become our next product. And because you have goals, like you reach this goal and that goes like, so where do I go from here? Well, my purpose, I'm still alive, so I still have a purpose, right? So what is that purpose? And I was a nail technician, and so I had my own nail studio. and it was in a building similar to what they call salon loft now, except that concept had not been coined yet. And so there was single stylists and one other nail tech behind all the little doors up there, and I had mine, and I had my always had my marketing business with me. And they would ask me things, and I would help them. I would design flyers or just give them advice as far as growing their business. And it had come to me one day, and I say come to me. I believe that the Holy Spirit gave these, to me to do these classes, and I had to come up with the 5 titles, and then the imposter syndrome set in. I'll be honest with you then, 'cause, and then I was scared. Then I was like, "Oh my god, I don't have any time right now. I'm working full time already and doing the studio. When am I gonna have time? I can only do this on Monday and Tuesday or Sunday." Whatever, just, complaining and going through just really trying to talk myself out of it. And but finally doing it, I did all the research as far as synchronous learning, different learning styles. And so, because again, like our podcasting, we have the topics, right? So that's where our expertise comes in. So then it's how do we translate that expertise into knowledge that somebody else can gain. And so I really encourage you out there if you do want to do that, and learning and taking classes yourself, because that's the flip side of it is just to be a lifelong learner and helping others to be the same and really get your ideas down. Now you can dictate into your equipment. You don't have to handwrite or type it out on a typewriter. It's talking about old technology there, and you'll be able to make those edits and then turn those into videos eventually.
Oh, that's interesting. So, Audrey, people call you the tech diva. Tech diva indeed, yeah. So I like to ask, as the tech diva, how do you decide which new tech tools are worth adopting for yourself and your clients, and which are just passing trends?
Yeah, I know because it's a shiny object, right? Every time something new comes up, and I kind of sit back for a minute before I jump into to actually choosing something. I may, there's thought leaders that I follow in the tech field, and so I read reviews, listen to what they're talking about, and just kind of keep my ears and my eyes peeled to what's going on. Is okay. So how can this benefit what I'm doing to take me to the next level? To say, for instance, even doing these podcasts. Oh my goodness, when I first started doing this, we had to come up with everything on our own. The titles, the descriptions. We pretty much didn't do transcripts that much, although I think there may have been programs that translated, but they were horrible. And so all of that content and editing, everything, the content creation around that. And so before I actually delved into it, sidebar, don't be afraid that using the technology is going to take away from your creativity, or people are going to think you're an imposter because you're not, or you're a fraud, because it's how you use that technology. You're still the creative force behind what comes out of it. And so that was something that I made sure that, for me too, as well. So coming up with the titles and descriptions, it saves time. We're in a society now where we're speeding up, just like they talked about the microwave generation, so to speak, so, cooking food faster. So the same thing comes here. So that's what I usually do. I research first and find out, what do I already have that tool, the new tool may replace or do better. And right now I'm looking at, an all-in-one package, and so how do I bring all those little individual tools that I'm using and bring those in, in how they integrate together? Because, the things do cost money, some are free, but the $20, $30, $50 that add up over time. It's like, are you really getting your money's worth out of these tools? Is it really producing and making the impact on your business that you want it to?
Great. So, if I'm right, Audrey, you recently retired from an engineering college, right?
Yes, yes, that's right.
Okay.
December 24.
Oh, wow, that's yeah, interesting to know. So I'd like to ask, what was the most surprising thing you learned from interacting with engineering students, and how they view communications and marketing?
Actually, the last ones that I work with, they're pretty smart. And I had to, for my dean, and he was brilliant. And there are some of them really do, because depending on what, like you may have a special interest outside of your engineering field that you're in, is that they all have a sense of humor. Engineers have a sense of humor. And so I love to tap into that, because I'm like this crazy introvert, extrovert. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what it is of taking the personality test, and they always want to say that I'm an introvert. And I'm like, really? Because I seem like I'm this crazy, fun loving, jaw jacking, as my father used to say, always telling jokes or something person. Oh, so that's why I learned that engineers will have a sense of humor, and they know marketing. They know what needs to be done, whether they can do it or not. So they may depend on me, or whoever that person or entity is, to help them to get that word across. But they know marketing. And
That's
you say
amazing.
communications. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So, in the age of AI generated content, why is human authenticity and story more important than ever for a brand?
Yes, we do have to. It's fun, and it speeds us up. It helps us to get things done faster. But we have to our voice needs to come through in whatever that AI technology is that we're using. And we talk about our voice means our style, our personality, the way we speak. So that needs to always be there to come across. And so what garbage in, garbage out is what we used to say when the computers first came out. Gosh, that was a long time ago. You just had a quick thought backwards. But, yeah, so whatever you put in it is what you're gonna get out. People may complain, "Oh, it's this or it's that," but you have to remember whatever you put in there is what it's going to give you back. And, and always don't try to use it to shortcut your way, because you still have to still we still have to be critical thinkers of what we put in. That we talk about the engineering prompts that we feed into artificial intelligence to give us our intelligence back. So really, the intelligence that it has, put it into it. We're putting it in to it in order for it to come out in a more cohesive, more a polished way, so to speak. But it should still be us.
So, looking back on your journey, haven't faced significant personal loss and professional hurdles. So, what has that experience actually taught you about resilience that you can share with our audience today?
Hold on. Sometimes it's gonna be a rough ride, and so you think of you mentioned significant loss. First of all, the deaths of my parents, that was horrible. And so you along the way you make mistakes, and sometimes because you're not all there all the time, so you're maybe using credit cards, your credit gets mixed up, and sometimes it's not even your fault. It may be someone else had a property foreclosed on, you had to move, and you're trying to find places. But I lost my home and some cars along the way. But I just even with imposter syndrome, I still believed in myself. I still believed in the product. Let's say that I still believed in that it could make a difference. And I just pressed forward, and I just never gave up, regardless of how I felt. And just like we talked about earlier about the renaming of saying I have it all together. Do we really have it all together? But no, will we get to a certain point where we can step up and okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to fight the battle again. And then go on and you put your work clothes on, and you go out there and you do your thing. So resiliency is a real thing. And you go through that, and you look back, and sometimes when you look back and say, wow, I actually went through that. I lived through that. And there's always going to be someone that we can mentor or talk to and share that experience with, whether it's one to many, like we're here on this podcast, or one on one, and someone has heard about your story. They just want to talk to you. And then you can encourage that person. And then that's important. And people I can even, even recently talking to a friend of mine, they were going through something. Said, I remember, when you was going through so and so, and how you and look, and you made it through that, and that encouraged them to, to hold on and go through what they were going through. It was totally different circumstance. But like I said, it's the concept of the resilience and the inner fight and the faith that we have and the belief in ourselves. And, just be a spiritual person who's really crying out to God and praying and just keep moving. If you just keep moving forward, if you could only crawl, just, crawl, but just keep moving. That's it. And getting around the like-minded people again and just really, you are enough. I wanna say that again. You are enough. You through the struggle, even the struggle, don't be ashamed or embarrassed at the time you might not want to, but you can't get help if you don't open your mouth or reach out.
For wonderful, Audrey. So, for someone feeling overwhelmed by the sheer number of digital platforms available today, what's your advice for choosing where to focus their energy?
Oh, wow. Focusing your energy and focus on tasks that are gonna bring you value, which means you can give value to others. We can get busy work sometimes with procrastinating, that P word. So, is make sure that, that you're working on things that are gonna make a difference. And sometimes, some things do have to be done, those foundational tasks, but are they things that you can delegate? Can you pay to have a virtual assistant? Can you hire a person? And if you're not to that point where you can do that, what technology can help you to, to keep you organized and so you can get your most important tasks done. And maybe it's a different time of day that you do things.
Great. So, Audrey, tell us, what does the word innovation truly mean to you, and how does it relate to your work, your experience, with decades of helping people build brands and at the intersection of technology? What does innovation mean to you?
Wow, innovation, dive in. We got the I in there. Let's get going. So innovation to me means creating something that makes an impact on an individual, a community, the greater society, even the world, depending on what that is. So like space exploration would be a huge innovation for globally. And so the tools that I use help me to innovate or create what I do. And just being there, sometimes you might be the first one to come up with an idea that's just like, oh wow, this is huge. And it really just so innovation to me means impact, making an impact on those who will use or use your tool, your service or your product.
Oh, that's interesting. So finally, for our audience who want to learn more from the tech diva herself, where is the best place for them to find your podcast, your newsletter, and generally maybe your resources?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to my website altogether.biz, you'll be able to find the socials, podcasts, the products and services that I offer. And, you'll be able to, the newsletter is there. You can send me a message. Yeah, so it's altogether.biz, ALTOGETHER.biz.
Well, indeed, all together. I mean, everything is there. All right. Audrey, it's been a really fun and insightful conversation with you, and I am excited to have you on the show today.
Yes, Ezekiel, I could say the same. It's wonderful. I love being here, and your questions just are amazing. And thank you so much for inviting me to this opportunity.